In 1981, a child was born and given the task of transforming English. If you have a textbook teacher, if you have an English problem, maybe you can call Kickass English!
Hi everyone and welcome to Kickass English, the only place on YouTube where you will get learning like this. Now, if you are not good at English, if you think to yourself, oh, I just can't do English, then this is the place for you. Because all English takes is confidence, persistence and dedication, and it doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter what level you are. If you're in the bottom set of your school and you think, oh my God, I just hate English, there's no way I can possibly do English, this is your channel. This is the place for you to listen, acquire skills and get better, All English is, it's really straightforward stuff a lot of the time, put in a really complicated way, because for some unknown reason we think that we should have some like real posh stuff to mean real simple stuff. And my job at Kickass English is to give you the skills so that no matter what level you are, no matter what ability, it might be your first ever foray into trying to improve your English skills. And if it is, great, we're happy to have you here. But similarly, if you have been trying and you've been slogging and you've been doing lesson after lesson after lesson and it's still not going in, stick around and hopefully the skills that I give you are the skills that will help you improve and get the grade, get to the level you want to be. So you probably heard me mention skills, and yeah, at Kickass English, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to give you skills, because skills are transferable. It's no good me doing a series of videos on Macbeth if you're not doing Macbeth. You won't find them very useful. Well, what are they doing? Oh, they're doing Macbeth. Oh, I'm doing Romeo and Juliet. It's not really a good thing, is it really? So what I will give you are skills for specific writing styles, and what you can do is then move them. You can lift them into your learning, and it should incrementally improve your ability. So, what we're going to do today, I'm going to give you something short and sharp that will improve your writing to describe skills. So, if you think about it, writing to describe, think about that word, describe. A lot of us think it's about putting a picture in our head, okay? So if you can describe something well, you can see it well. Makes sense, really. But how do we see it? Think to yourself, how do you get to see that information? How do you get to see that image in your head? How does the writing move from that page and go into our imaginations? And for some of us, sadly, it doesn't. Some of us, we don't see it. And from that, we certainly can't write about it. We can't do it ourselves, which is perfectly fine. So what we need are some skills to help us. Now, I'm going to give you something that's really, really dead simple, but you might not have thought about it. So, if you have trouble writing extended pieces of writing, and you look over, like usually in exams, you look over and you can see the person going, and there's 4, 5, 6 pages being done on after this task that's writing to describe, where they've got an image and they're describing, you think, oh my God, how the hell are they doing that? Then they're probably using one of these skills that we'll do. So the first skill that we're going to do in this video is something called sensory description. Now think about that word, sensory description. Give you a couple of minutes, think about it. Sensory. What you're probably gathering is that you can hear something called senses. And you think about it, all of us share those senses unless there's some level of disability that limits those senses. But the vast majority of people all have those senses. So therefore, writing using those senses helps to pull us in. So what am I talking about when I mean senses? I'm talking about what you can see, what you can smell, what you can taste, what you can hear, and what you can touch. Now have a think about those skills. Why do they work? What is it about them that makes them work? I'm saying they work, but why do they work? Have a think. What you're probably gathering is that because you have them and I have them, if I write something like, for example, it was very, very dark, because you've had that experience in your own life, you can imagine something very, very dark and you go, oh yeah, I get that, I'm in. There was a loud bang in the distance of the room. Oh yeah, I've heard a loud bang. You imagine things like bonfire night, fireworks, celebrations, New Year's Day, Independence Day. You imagine celebrations like that. And because of that, it brings you again in. Now if you think about those skills, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there's 5 senses. So from that, from me telling you that now, that means that it doesn't matter what object you think about. It can be any object you can see. You can write a minimum now of 5 sentences. You can write one about smell, one about sight, one about touch, one about taste, one about what you can hear. 5 sentences, minimum about anything. But the chances are you're not just going to write 5 sentences on each one of these. You're going to write a couple of paragraphs on what you could see. Maybe you're going to have a single sentence paragraph about what you could hear. But then you're going to vary it. So you also get the variation in the pace and the tone, but you're also starting to stretch out your writing. So have a think. So I'm saying, yeah, you can do 5 sentences minimum, 5 areas minimum, 5 sections even. Which one of those senses, if you think about the senses that we've got, and I'll put them up on here, which of those senses do you think would be the trickiest? Because there is a few that might be tricky. Have a think. Now, which sense do you think would be the hardest if I was describing a door? Yeah? Sight would be pretty straightforward. Hearing, you might open the door, you might hear how the handle works, you might be able to do hearing. Touch would definitely be an easy one to do because you could tell me about how heavy the door was, how it felt in your hand as it opened. You're probably narrowing it down now to the smell and the taste. Now smell, you can probably do. Smell, you could probably do. You could get close enough to the door, you could smell like the polish, or you could smell the dust in the room or the dust on the door. You can do that one. And that leaves taste. Now, I am not advising you go about licking a door. Do not do that. But you can see the problem. Unless you did lick a door, unless you did do that, you'd have a difficulty using that sense of taste. So what writers do often is they couple that sense of taste up with an emotion. You need to think about this scenario. It's a football match. It's down to the last minutes of the game. It's 1-1. The fans all know that the next goal will win the championship, will win the Premier League, will win whatever trophy you want, but it'll win. The attacking player gets the ball. He goes to shoot. The fans can taste the what. Put an emotion there. The fans can taste the what in the arena. What emotion did you put there? You probably put something like excitement, tension, thrill. Now we can't really eat excitement, can we? But you hear that a lot. You could taste the excitement. And these are metaphors. These are bigger things, and it's what it's doing. It's making us feel that that emotion is so big, that sense is so big that we could actually eat it. So sometimes, if you can't use taste as a sense, as an easy one to get in there, use that skill. Use it as an emotion. Use it as a metaphor. Okay? You could taste the what at the back of the throat. You could taste that as you walked in the building. You could taste the thrill all around you. It doesn't have to be literal for that one. Now saying that, taste is a really good one if you think about an apple or a food or any type of food. That's a really easy one to use. So what you've got to do, and this is all about you becoming a better writer and us becoming better writers, we've got to think of all these tools, and you've got to think of them like, which one would I use here? Which one's the best? Why would I use that one there? And you start to use them like a painter would use colours on a canvas. You choose which skill you use as and when. And the whole point of these lessons here is that we'll get those skills going. And just like building blocks, it's not a case of, oh, that video didn't matter or that lesson didn't matter. The whole point is that this lesson will build on the next lesson and the next lesson will build on the next lesson. So if you stay with us, you'll learn loads of different skills. If you're here just for a short, snappy, oh, I need something to improve my writing, you'll also get that benefit too. What we're going to do, we're going to do some writing to describe. I'm going to put up an image and we're going to use sensory description to describe that image, okay? What you're not going to do now is you're not going to use the word popcorn. That's pretty harsh. We've just got to know each other. This is our first lesson, and I'm already telling you what you can and can't do. So the whole point is you can't use the word popcorn, because what if you do say, I'll put the word popcorn. I know what I'm doing. I'm going to use the word popcorn. You put the word popcorn in. What do you think you'll see? What do you think that reader will see straight away? Will they see the popcorn that we want to describe, or will they see instead the popcorn that they've already imagined? The popcorn that they've probably had when watching a movie. They're probably thinking that. And the moment you say popcorn, that picture goes in their head. And from that point on, you've got a really tricky battle of pushing their image out of the way to get your image in. Don't believe me? Right, here we go. I'm going to give you a few sentences. And what I want you to do, I want you to listen to the sentences, and by the end, I want you to work out what animal I'm talking about. The large, hulking creature stood in front of me. Its colossal frame was grey and wrinkly. It had huge tusks that were like spears, and between its tusks swung a long, wrinkly trunk. The trunk let out a sound that was like a whole brass band going off at once. What animal have I got? You're probably saying elephant. Now the whole point of that is, if you listen very carefully, I didn't say the word elephant once. Well, you all got that it was an elephant, didn't you? You all understood that that was an elephant. But if you think about it, because I didn't say elephant, what were you trying to do? You were trying to think, you were trying to work it out, you were trying to, you know what, you were having to listen to the next skill. You were having to listen to the next sentence, so that your brain, because your brain is like a genius calculator, all working and trying to deduce facts and things very quickly. So your brain is filtering through all this information, trying to get to the right image. And once it gets that image, it feels content. You go, oh yeah, I know what I'm doing. I know what I've done. So that's why we as writers, we don't give them that image straight away. We hold that image back for the reader. We go, nope, we're the ones writing, we're the ones with the power. You're going to work for this image. You're going to have to think about this image. So, we're going to go back to our image now of the popcorn. We're going to talk about what it looked like. And the easiest thing for you to get started is literally say what you see. What does it look like? What are the kernels of that popcorn looking like? Maybe they look like clouds. Maybe they look like puff balls of cotton. I don't know. Tell me what they look like. I think what skill that is. If you're saying simile, you're right. But we'll do lessons on the imagery later, so don't worry if you don't. Say what it looks like. What does it remind you of? And what I want you to do, I don't want you to repeat the same words accidentally. Think of different vocabulary. Think of different adjectives. We never want to be caught describing the thing by using the same words over and over and over again. Now, you're probably thinking, yeah, I know that. Why? Because it gets boring. It does get boring, but that's sort of like the standard answer for things that don't work in English. The student and teacher go, oh yes, it gets boring. But why? Think about why it gets boring. Well, if you were told the same words over and over and over again, you get tired of listening to them because you've already heard them. think of the speed of those words. If you're repeating the same word over and over and over again, it's not just the sound of the word, it's the speed of the word that you're getting used to. And you can anticipate it, so you get bored because of that. Your mind just gets tired because it's not having any variation. You probably know, and I certainly have known, teachers who all talk like this. Get out your book and we'll start work. And you think, oh my God, this is so boring, this is so tiring. Well, you don't want to be like that. You don't want to be like that, and you don't want your work to be like that. So try and vary the syllables when we're talking about that. So let's focus on what it looks like, okay? What does it look like? Tell me where those things are in the image. Where is the popcorn all centered round? Where can you see it? Is it heaped? Is it in a pile? What shape does that remind you of? Think about the carton. Is it a carton? Is it a package? Is it a box? Is it a container? All of those are good words, but think of your own. Come up with your own. Okay? So describe what it looks like. Now, while you're thinking about that, pause the video for about 5 minutes and write as much as you can. You're really wanting a chunk, about a paragraph, just on what you can see. Don't go into any of the other senses. We'll take those in turn. Okay? So just pause the video for 5 minutes and write about a paragraph about what you can see, what's it like, what you can think of. Hopefully you paused there, and we're going to pick on this video, we're going to pick smell. Now, it smelled like. Start with it smelled like. What did it remind you of? Was there a mixture of smells? Was one smell stronger than the other? Was one smell sort of like subtle? Was it sort of like wafting in? Could you smell even the cardboard box that was mixed with that smell of the food because it had warmed up? I don't know, because remember, it's not my box of popcorn that you are trying to describe. It's your own. Okay, so really make it your own. I want you to think about, do I need to use the word it smelled like all the time, or I could smell? Is there a way we could do that differently? Can you tell me that you're smelling something without even using the word smell? I can think of one. The aroma hit the back of my nostrils. There you go, you can have that one for free. Okay, there's a famous poem called Vultures, I think it is. It's an old poem, and it says the smell of the human roast clung rebelliously to his nostrils, which is pretty grim. It's a pretty grim image, but it gets my point across that you don't have to say it smelled like it. You can get that powerful emotion from smell. What I want you to do now, I want you to just focus on the smell. Now you might be asking, well, why am I separating all these things? Why am I not putting them all together? Why am I doing that? Well, that's a good question. It's a good question. You should question. In all your lessons, you should question things. You know, always question, because that's how we learn. We learn by questions and answers. You know, it's not rocket science, is it really? But here's the answer. The reason we separate them out is because you can give all your attention to that sense. You may have heard good writers, they write a lot about a little, not a little about a lot. You might have heard that. Hopefully you have. If your teacher said that, you know, you're onto a winner. You've probably got a good teacher delivering English. But some teachers can use it badly, so they waltz around the room and they go, write a lot about a little, not a little about a lot. And the poor kid and you and the student that is sat there going, what the hell does that mean? What does that mean? Write a lot about a little, not a little about a lot. It's like a limerick or a riddle or something like that. You know, I came for English, not some sort of like test or Herculean task. So what it really means is, if you write a lot about a small thing, you can focus all your attention on it. And because you focus all your attention on it, you can go into more depth. You can go into greater detail. And you think what we started with, writing to describe, is to put that image in our head. So just think about it. If we can go into greater detail about that image, is that image going to get clearer, or is it going to stay vague? Hopefully you said it was going to get clearer, because it will. So that's what they mean when they say write a lot about a little, not a little about a lot. I always think to myself, for the other bit, write a little about a lot. Why is that bad? Well, I want you to imagine like a fly that's buzzing around the room, and it'll go, and it might talk about, oh, there was a person writing, you know, they were sat at the desk, they were holding a pen, there was a teacher at the front, there was a board at the back, and then they go out the room. Just like that fly. It buzzes in and it buzzes out. And the problem with that is you don't get enough time to care about any of it. It's too quick. It's too quick. It's like, oh, and it's over. It's like, oh, what was that? And because you do it like that, it doesn't build that picture in our head. It doesn't get going. It doesn't even get a chance. It's not that the words you're using are bad. They're probably not. But the problem is you're doing it too quick. So try to go a bit slower than you naturally would in terms of the pace, because it will come out all right. It won't feel boring by slowing it down a little. It really won't, because you've got all this vocab and all these different skills being used that creates that interest. Okay, so let's focus again on smell. I've gone off on a bit of a tangent there. Focus on the smell. Okay, and what I want you to do again, I want you to pause the video for about 5 minutes, and then we'll start again. So if you've made it this far into the video, we are up to our third sense. And what I want you to do, we've had sight, we've had smell. Now I want you to go to touch. Now, touch is a real visceral one. You really feel it because it's something immediate and close to us. So when you hold it, that box of popcorn, you know, when you've probably been ripped off by going to the cinema and you've paid about £300 for like a carton of popcorn, what does that feel like? Apart from being gutted that you've actually taken out a loan for, you know, this box of popcorn, what does it feel like in your hands? Is it light? Is it delicate? Is it fragile even? Do you teeter over like to your seat thinking, oh God, I better not spill this, you know, I've invested my child's inheritance fund in this thing. How does it feel in your hands? As you pick it up, what's it similar to? What's the texture? And by texture, I mean, how does it feel on your skin? When you pick it up, how does it feel? You know, we have got touch that bleeds very nicely into taste, okay? And that bleeds into that sort of skill of taste. But before you get to the taste, what does it feel like as you're pushing it against your lips, as you're putting it in your mouth? Because that's not necessarily taste yet, it's still touch. What did it feel like on the tongue? So it felt rough, it felt sharp, it was brittle. Okay, have a think about that. And remember, you still can't use the word popcorn. Pause the video here. If you've made it this far into the video, we are up to our fourth sense. Our fourth sense, so we've used sight, we've used smell, we've used touch. If you remember, I said touch, it works well with taste. Okay, so you can do taste now. And what I would advise is, if you've got some popcorn in the house, go and get it now. Eat it. This is the best bit of the video if you think about it. This is the bit where we get the payoff, we get the eating bit. What does that taste like? Do the tastes change? Is there anything that I noticed about that flavour, or those flavours? Are there more than one? Does it melt? Does it get soft? Is it warm? If you need a starting sentence, you can use this. The taste hit the back of my throat. If you don't think it's a strong one, use this sentence. The taste slowly grew the more I ate. And then build on that. So again, you're wanting a chunk, you're wanting about a paragraph. And as you can see now, you've already got 3 paragraphs, and now you're adding 4 paragraphs. And we're only talking about a box of popcorn. So you can see it massively extends your writing, which is a great skill. And it shows to the examiner, it shows to the person reading, look, I can do extended pieces of writing. I'm not scared about writing. It's just I never knew how to do it. I never knew how to stretch it out without thinking it was waffle and wasting time. But this is a valuable skill. So we're already learning these skills of stretching it out. If you pause now, write for another 5 minutes. And what I want you to do, I want you to rejoin us and we'll finish it off for the last sentence. So if you've made it all the way through to the end of the video, and God bless you, my first video, and you've made it through to the end, that is commitment. And here at Kickass English, we like commitment. So, well done. So we're going to move through now to the 5th and last skill. And that one is sound. Now, The reason I put it after taste is because you'll get different sounds as you're eating it as well. So what we can do, we can contrast, we can compare and contrast this sense. Compare means to look for similar things, contrast means to look for differences. So if anyone says, I want you to compare and contrast, that's what they mean. They mean look for similar things and look for different things. So if you think about it, there are different sounds at the point where we pick it up in our hands. There are different sounds when we place our hand into the popcorn. And there are then different sounds when it's in our mouth and we're eating it. So, why not say that? Okay, sometimes students, and I bet you're the same, and I'm certainly the same, I think, oh God, how do I start? How can I possibly start this? And sometimes that's because we're thinking it should be some posh thing, and we, humble writers, can't possibly attain this level of skill. And that's absolute rubbish. Largely what you say is going to be fine. So why not say, there was a mixture of sounds all at once? I'm not rocking the world there, am I? You know, no great writer is going to listen to that sentence and go, do you know what? He's saying something I don't understand. But I'm writing to describe. I'm writing to make you understand. So if I use loads of high register words that you can't possibly understand, guess what? That audience is not being dragged in, they're being left out there, they're being left out in the cold. So we really need to drag the readers in. We need to make them feel like they're getting this. Because if the moment they don't get it, the moment they feel, oh, this is not for me, what do you think they do? What do you think a reader does if they find something difficult or they find it really confusing? The vast majority anyway. Yeah, they don't read. They don't carry on. They stop. And that's the worst thing for the writer. If the reader stops, well, guess what? You may as well write whatever you want because no one's reading it. No one's paying any attention to it. So, mission failed. So, last sense is what is the sounds, okay? Did the sounds get heavier? Did they get louder the more you ate? Did it get scratchy as you fished around in the bottom of the packet for the last little kernels? No. If you haven't mentioned popcorn yet so far, well done, tremendous. And I bet the person that you read this to will know that you're talking about popcorn straight away, okay? Even though you've not used that word. But if you're struggling now, because you've written 4 paragraphs before, chances are people know what you're talking about anyway. So now you can sort of give them the reward for listening by telling them, yeah, what you're listening to is actually what I'm talking about, and that is popcorn. So you can use that word now in this paragraph. Pause the video there. Again, finish it off, reread your work. Use 5 minutes as well to reread your work once you've done this, just to make sure it flows and you're happy with it. And I'll see you in a bit. Well done, you've made it through to the end of the lesson. And think about it, what have we learned today? Well, what we've learned is one skill in how you write to describe. It's a writing style on its own, but it also feeds into writing to entertain, which is story writing, which is something you've probably grown up with a lot. And we'll go on to that in other videos, but for today, we've learned writing to describe, but we've also learned that sensory description. And because of that, we've been able to extend our work, taking through each sense at a time, writing a paragraph on each. So you've probably got 5 paragraphs. And if your 5 paragraphs are about 7 or 8 lines, 6 or 7 lines, it doesn't matter, there's no limit, you've probably got yourself about a side of writing. Think about that. You've done a side of writing on a box of popcorn. And that's probably the thing that's like boggling our minds the most, really. Because you think to yourself, I'm going to write 5 paragraphs about popcorn. Are you having a laugh? You're going to write 5 paragraphs about popcorn. It's not going to be boring. Well, think to yourself, why is it not boring? Because yeah, I agree with you. If I was told that I'm going to write 5 paragraphs about popcorn, I'd be like, oh God, that's going to be really boring. But think to yourself, why is it not boring? What have you used in your writing that appeals to me every time you write? And the answers to those questions are, you've used that sensory description to grab me and pull me in. But what you've not done 5 paragraphs just about what you could see. You've varied it. So you've done a paragraph on what you could see, what you could smell, what you could hear, what you could taste, what you could touch. You've done 5 different senses. So every time you're writing, even though it feels like you're writing about one thing, you're actually writing about 5 different things. And that variation keeps me interested because you're appealing to my different senses all the way through your writing. And think to yourself, if you didn't use popcorn and I said right at the last paragraph, right, drop it in now. Think to yourself, what does that make the reader feel like? I bet you've seen murder mysteries or crime dramas. I bet you've seen those, haven't you? It's exactly the same. When they have a crime drama, they don't within the first 5 minutes go, oh, he did it in the conservatory, he killed him with the candlestick, and oh yes, we'll find the murder weapon in the second drawer down of the kitchen. And they don't do that for a very good reason, because if they did that, you'd be like, oh, I'm not bothering watching the rest of this, I've got more things to watch on Netflix than this. And it's exactly the same with holding back those nouns, holding back those terms that give the game away in writing to describe. By holding it back, what you do is you make that audience keen. You're hooking them. Think of questions. They're like hooks. They pull you in. And what you're doing, you're putting lots of questions in their mind going, what is this? I think it's right. I'm not sure. I'll hang on till the end until I find out. And that's the skill of writing to describe. You're building that picture until eventually you reveal that picture and you satisfy the reader because they go, oh yeah, that's what I was seeing. Yeah, that's really good how they've got that in my mind. Now for those of you who are doing GCSEs, and Lord knows what's going on with GCSEs at the moment, but for those people who are doing GCSEs, when you come up to the sort of like creative writing tasks, you'll be quite often shown an image in your exam. Now this skill that we've done today really helps with that task, because you will never ever be given one small object like a box of popcorn to do. That would be too hard in a way. So if you think about it, you'll be probably given a scene. So you could be given a cinema with some popcorn in. You could be given a forest with a bench in or something like that. All you do to make that exam task easier for yourself is you label all the different objects that are in there. You label all the objects that are in there and then you put a number next to them. And we'll do this in another video, but you put numbers next to them so you know the order you're writing about them in. And then all you do is you go back to the skill that we've done in this video for each one of those. And you can imagine, if you've written 5 paragraphs on a box of popcorn like in today's lesson, can you imagine what you could do when you've got a full image? You're easily going to get to a side, 2 sides, 3 sides. Which is exactly what I was on about when I said, can you remember those people who in exams are writing like 4 or 5 pages? This is how we get to that stage where we're extending our writing. But what we're doing, we're not accidentally extending, we're not just writing reams and reams for no point. It's actually good stuff we're putting in each one of those paragraphs. Join me on the next lesson where we develop another skill. I'm going to make it so that you are the best writer you could possibly be.